PCIS main class contains the main method of the entire program. And we have here instantiation of the production class with its instance PCIS frame, and to make this frame visible to our screen, we set its property set visible into true. And we also created another class which was the add production, and we have here variables, its constructor along with its parameters, and in here we initialize the values of these variables. And we also have here accessors for each of those variables. And then another class which was the production, and it extends the JFrame. So we have imports here, packages SQL, util, and swing. And then declaration of variables. We also have here the only constructor of the class production, and in here it initializes its components, which are located here below. These are the following components. And then inside the try-catch block, we have here two methods that are being called show production and show product. This show product here is another module, so I'm not going to explain this anymore. We will be focusing here in the show production, and that is located here. And we have here an instantiation of an array list of the add production, which is this class, and with its instance plist, and we assigned it to have a value of get production list method, and this method is just right in here. This method will return an array list of the add production, so that is why it is assignable to this. We have here another instantiation of an array list again of an add production with its instance plist, and it has a value of new array list. And in this line we are trying to connect to our database, and this get connection method here is located in here, and this returns a connection to our database, specifically to the PCIS database with its username root, and it has no password. Going back, so we have here a string variable named query, and it contains our query to our database. Select all from viewMain. viewMain here is the view. And in this line, we are creating a statement object for sending SQL statements to our database. And in here, we are trying to execute this query and get its result set. And another declaration of add production object with its instance pdn. Then while result set has a next value pdn, or this one, and we have here an instantiation of the class add production, this one, and we're trying to get each of the value of the result set, which is this one, and we will be passing that to our class. And then add that list to the plist by this one, and then return that list. And let's get back here. And in this line, we are trying to put some data. All of the data that will be retrieved from the database will be put into the table, and this will be displayed here. And this method here, it just tries to set the text field into null, or it will have a 0 value. And another method in here is the execute SQL query. So it tries to get a connection to the database, executes the query, and we put equal to 1 here for the affected rows, and then it tries to refresh the table, this one, and then it will display a message, data edited or added or deleted successfully. Otherwise, it will display a data not deleted or data not inserted. And then the following methods in here are the event listeners. It is just for the transition of the frames from one frame to another. And then here for the this is for the event on the insert button. So there is a query for our database and then executes. And this is for the update button. So a query for our database and then executes the query. And this is another event for when the mouse will be clicked. So we try to get the values of that row and then put those values into these fields and then try to get a connection to the database and query this one and then or have this query. And in this line we're just trying to get the product ID and the production ID of that row. And then in here for the delete button, so we have this query and then executes it.
Here we created another class which is the add delivery. Inside this class, we declared variables. We also have here its constructor which initialize value of these variables. We also have accessors for each of these variables. Here we created another class delivery which will make use of the class add delivery. It has a constructor that accepts an integer which will be assigned to the production ID. It also initializes the components. Inside the try-catch block, we called show outlet, and inside the try-catch block, we show the deliver method. But we are just going to focus on the show deliver, since show outlet is another module. This method tries to connect to our database, especially PCIS, and returns the connection. This method will return an array list of add delivery. Inside this method, we instantiate the array list of add delivery to each instance dlist. We then add this query, execute it, get its result set, and pass it to variable deliver. We then add it to the dlist. After that, we then return the dlist. This method tries to get the values that will return by the method getDeliveryList and display it to the table, this table here. This method is to clear the text in the text field, text inside this quantity date. Inside this method, we establish a connection to our database, execute a query, and if this is an affected rows, it will refresh the table. And display a message whether it's successful or not. And these events are for the linkages of the frame. And this action is to insert data into our database. This is the query, and execute it. This will be the event when the mouse is clicked, and this will be for this table here. And first we're going to get the value of the selected row and put that values on the text fields. Then we establish a connection to our database, and this query will be executed. This query will be executed. Then the purpose of this block is to get the value of the outlet ID and the deliver ID and of the selected row. And these actions is performed once the mouse is clicked, and you can add, update, and delete data into the database. Also, these actions is the same functionality to the others. You can also add data into the database. Same thing, this action is you can also add a data into the database.
Okay, so today I'm going to explain about the logs and the add logs class files. So in this, first we I'm going to explain the add logs class. So in here we initialize these strings to this one, and then this serves as the constructors, and then the accessors will be this one. So, and that will be it for this class. So in this logs class, we initialize two integers, deliver ID and quantity, and a string date. Okay, so here we have the constructor logs and then initialize components. So the try block, the show logs method is called, which is this one. In this method, we declared an array list named list and a default table model named model with an array named row, which contains 5 rows, which is this one. So in the first row, it will be the outlet, it will get the outlet name. The second, it will get the quantity delivered. The third, get date delivery. The next, quantity sold, and the last, the as of. So this will be in that table. It will get the values in this table in here. The values will be get in this table. Next, we'll have the get log list method. So in this method, it's just the same as the logs, but it will just get the list and not from the table, but just the list, and will save to the database query. This one, the outlet name, quantity delivered, date delivery, the quantity sold, and the as of. It will save it to the database. The database is from this one. It was the connection. The connection is called named con, and it will get the connection to the database and will return. Next is the method clear field. This will just clear the values input from the quantity text field and the date text field. Just returns null. And in this method, execute SQL query. This will display messages if whether the input the data is successful or not. So it's successful, this one, and if not, it will be this one. Get from the table. Next will be the buttons. So these 3 buttons, the logs, which just from the logs, product, and the outlet, which is this one, these 3. So if once the button is clicked, the class will be the class in this one, the logs will be initialized, it will be called, and then it will set visible to false. Then the current window will be closed since the set visible is false. Same as to these 2. The product class will be called and the outlet will be called. And the J button 6, which is this one, the edit button. Once the edit button is clicked, it will get the values of the text input and sends it to the database, and then it will be saved. The previous values will be replaced on the new values entered by the user. And this logs list mouse clicked method, this is for the date text field, the setting of the text, the date text field, and it's the values. Again, the connection to the database is called, we'll select the following: outlet name, quantity delivered, date delivery, quantity sold, and as of. Then the outlet name, all of these are from the deliver ID. To get the deliver ID, because each of the outlets has its deliver ID. And the J button 7 is this one. This is the delete button. It will get the date. It will delete the following date, which is the date, the quantity, and the deliver ID. So it will delete it from the database. And then it will no longer be available in the logs table once the
We first created the add product of Java for setting and getting the data. So here we have an integer, prod ID, string prod name, and a double price. We created a constructor, add product, that will set the values of prod ID, prod name, and price. We have created three getters, namely get prod ID, which returns prod ID, get prod name, which returns prod name, and get price, which returns price. We created a product.java for GUI and connections to the database. We have created three variables for handling the data. We have a constructor product that calls the init components and show product method, a method get connection that will connect our program to the database, a method get product list that will get all the data from the table product. A method show product that will display all the data we get to the JTable. A method clear field that will clear the JText fields after performing actions. A method execute a SQL query that will execute our queries and display if the said action is successful or not. A J button that will terminate the product.java and will redirect to other Java files. A J button that will insert data in the table product, an event listener, and that when you click a certain data on the table, it will get the data and display on the JText fields. A J button that will update the data that you selected in the table. A J button that will delete the data that you selected in the table. We first created the add outlet at Java for setting and getting the data. So here we have an integer outlet ID, string outlet name, care of, and contact number. We created a constructor add outlet that will set the values of outlet ID, outlet name, care of, and contact number. We have created four getters, namely get outlet ID, which returns outlet ID, get outlet name, which returns outlet name, get care of, which returns care of, and get contact number, which returns contact number. We created the outlet.java for the GUI and connections to the database. We have created variables for handling the data. We have a constructor outlet that calls the init components and show outlet method. A A method get connection that will connect our program to the database, a method get outlet list that will get all the data from the table TBL outlet. A method show outlet that will display all the data we get to the JTable. A method clear field that will clear the JText fields after performing actions. A method execute SQL query that will execute our queries and display if the said action is successful or not. JButton that will terminate the outlet ID and will redirect to the other Java file. An event listener that when you click a certain data on the table, it will get the data and display in the JText fields. A JButton that will insert the data in the table TBL product. A JButton that will update the data that you selected on the table. A JButton that will delete the data that you selected on the table.